Hello and welcome to First Fruits Crochet. My name is Julia, and these are the projects that I'm working on. I also wanted to hop on and just talk through all of the remaining footage if I'm able, and not really do a lot of music. It just sounds like fun to just chat about random stuff, so that's what I'm gonna do. Um, for books that I'm listening to in this, well, I don't remember what I was listening to in this video, but what I'm listening to after the fact is the first book in the Firefly series. It was based on the show, not the movie Serenity. I hated the movie Serenity. If I can just geek out and talk about Firefly for a minute, I actually kind of liked the show. It was slower paced than what I was expecting, but it was well done. I loved the characters, and I love that I get to experience more of the story and more of these characters just in a different medium. So I'm listening to the first book. There are 5 books, and they're all written by different authors. I have one chapter left of it, and then I'm done with it. Um, it wasn't a bad book so far. I don't hate it, which is good. It's entertaining. I don't really have much else to say about that. For other stuff that I'm doing, because I am a very creative person, I don't just do crochet, even though I love crochet. It's so much fun and so relaxing. I write a lot of poetry, and I made my own poetry forms. So you know how kind of like haikus, all right? So like you know how haikus have like 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables, and that's the poem. I really like the structure of having a syllable count with poetry. I really struggle with free verse, y'all. I struggle to make that good. And I want to write it, and if I'm going to write it, I want to write it well. So when I put constraints on myself, it ends up being amazing. So I made my own forms of poetry, and I think I'll put them on screen. It's just various syllable counts. Right now they're just form 1, form 2, form 3, etc. I don't have names for them. I think it'd be really fun to come up with names for them. So if you want, you can help me come up with names for them, give some suggestions. One of them I have nicknamed as Brick because it's kind of like 2 of the same size line and then one that's short. But yeah, I don't know what to call them. Uh, so if you have ideas, that'd be cool. But for now, I think they're just going to be Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, etc. Now why did I do that? Why did I do that? Because I am writing a verse novel. And if you don't know, it's kind of what it sounds like. But most of the time, verse novels are written as nonfiction stories from somebody's life. But I don't really gel with that. So I'm writing fiction. I'm writing speculative fiction. Um, Specifically for these poetry forms, I'm writing a sci-fi story, and it's been so cool to work on. I am the type of person, it's a little bit similar to Firefly, actually. Just a little bit, in that it's all humans, but there's space shenanigans. Not a lot. It's not really an adventure story though. It's more of like an emotional drama with space. It's very heavily focused on the characters because I am the type of person that just loves deep character studies. And is this book going to be for absolutely everyone? No, it's not. And that's okay. But as I'm working on that, I'm also working on formatting a different book that I have already written. That one is completely written in free verse, and that took a little while to edit, which is another reason why I wanted to do poetry forms instead of doing it in free verse. I just realized that some of y'all are not going to know what I'm talking about. So free verse poetry, I'm so sorry. Free verse poetry is basically like, again, it's a little bit like what it sounds like. So you are just taking words and you're freely putting them on the page however you want to. You're using line breaks to push the emotion forward, and or push the sensation that you're trying to achieve forward. It's a beautiful form, but I need rules if I'm going to write well, and I know this about myself. There are other people that can make free verse poetry work beautifully for them. There are tons of books that are just full of free verse poetry that are fantastic. But I know the kind of writer I am. I am not very good at prose because for me there's too much to balance and I just get exhausted editing over and over again. I have always been really strong with poetry, so that is the route that I am going with, and I love storytelling. So when I discovered that verse novels existed, but they don't exist in the capacity that I want them to, that's an opportunity for me, man. I can write whatever I want in poetry, and it could be whatever genre. Because right now, I kid you not, all of the verse novels that I have ever seen, but I haven't read a lot of them, so I'm speaking from a place of ignorance, but most of the ones that I have seen are nonfiction, and they're basically just creative memoirs. The oldest types of verse novels, this is not a new form. We have Homer's The Iliad, the Odyssey, Beowulf. All of these are poetic storytellings in books, like thick books. Now, are the books that I'm going to write going to be that thick? Probably not. I think at most they'll be around 200, 250 pages. And since it's poetry also, somebody could just like go through my whole book in less than an hour, maybe at most 2 hours if they're a slow reader. I'm just really excited to create stuff. I love I love crocheting and I love writing poetry and I love talking. It's so nerdy. But yeah, for this project, I do need to figure out how to make a conlang, so a constructed language, because the vast majority of this story takes place on a distant moon, and I don't even have a name for the moon yet, but I'll have to figure that out. It's a terraformed moon that is wild. It's either terraform or it already sustained life because there's alien flora and fauna. There's alien life already on this planet, but there aren't any humans or sentient life on this planet, at least before humans colonized it. So there's a colony on this moon, and they've been there. In my head, they've been there for about 2,000 years, but it's possible that they've not been there that long. But that's my head canon, and it's my story, so maybe it's canon. Right now, it's canon. And it's a somewhat primitive colony, but it's not super primitive, I guess. They have houses. They don't have that much electricity. They have enough that they can, like, there's some form of internet, but there isn't, it's not to the same extent that we have now. So the type of internet that they have is just enough to check emails, check messages, basically like getting the newspaper, and that's the full extent of it. It's not, I don't know. I think of it more as like it's a moon that's kind of out in the boondocks. It's like a place where there is space to homestead and there's livestock to tend. It does not look like our livestock, but it's kind of similar. Ooh, I could just share. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So some of I've just been thinking about this a lot, okay, and I haven't written any of it yet. It's just been in my brain. But for livestock, they have these like moth sheep, so like a cross between a moth and a sheep. So it's really fluffy, but their wings are really small because the humans there bred them to have small wings so they wouldn't fly away. And you can use their fluff to make textiles. Like, of course, I bake that into my story. So you can make yarn, you can make you can weave shrouds or whatever it is that you need to weave. You can make it out of this stuff, and it's essentially like the texture of silk when it's done. So their beddings, their bedspreads, a lot of what they make, their clothing is very silky and very smooth, but it's resistant to water, and um, it's just a very good weatherproof textile. Maybe that could be their main export. They just export this type of thing. That would be cool. I might just go with that. But is all of this information necessarily going to be in the book? Probably not. If I did a commentary or I did some kind, that would be so cool actually. It'd be so cool to do like a commentary on my book. and just release that as like an author's special edition or something. Like, here's all the world building that you didn't get to see because this is so character driven and character focused. That would just be super cool. But maybe I could include things like that. I just don't want it to drag the story down. And if it doesn't contribute to the overall narrative, then I don't want to include it. But it is stuff that I'm thinking about. Oh, the language, I kind of already talked about in my last video. I haven't progressed too much further on that front, but I have continued listening to the book, The Art of Language Invention. I'm almost done with it. And after I'm done listening to it, I'm going to go back through because I have a physical copy as well, and I'm going to just go through it slowly. I have the sounds for the language. I just need to make words for it and make grammar rules for it, and then I can make whatever sentences that I need. I'm not planning on having entire poems be in this language, although that would be cool. I think that would just be too alienating for my reader, and I want to be kind to whoever ends up reading this. So I'm only going to have like maybe 3 sentences, maybe 4 over the whole book, but that does make it's still worth it to me to make a whole language for this. And I might also have words that pop up from time to time. And to me, it's still worth it. Even if it is only going to be used so little, it's worth it to have a language. And I love the whole concept of it. Like, one book that did this amazingly well, and I don't know how much time I'll have to talk about this, so I might have to cut myself off if I run out of time. One book that has a constructed language is Watership Down, and it's rabbit speak, and it's so cool. I love that. I love that. I love the creativity that other authors have, and it's just so fun to be in a space where I can just create and look at all of the people that came before me and say, hey, yes, let's do more. I'm so excited to be making something that hasn't, okay, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but to my knowledge and what I've researched, this hasn't been done before. What I am attempting to do has not been done before, and I'm very excited about that. So if I have run out of time, I will see you in the next video. I love geeking out with you, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye!